Our next speaker is Gray Scott, one of the youngest futurists on the circuit, the founder of Serious Wonder magazine, one of the most influential online magazines out there. And Gray's going to talk to us about something called the Singularity Reality. And Gray, please come join us on the stage.
So imagine a future where every sensorial experience that you have is digitized, quantified, and predicted. How will that change our lives? How will it change our behavior towards our family, our friends, our customers, and how we do business with the world, how we represent ourselves, how we represent who we are as a digital being in a digital substrate? This idea of the digital black hole, where everything in the future gets digitized, quantified, and miniaturized, sounds unbelievable. It sounds far-fetched. It sounds like science fiction. But I'm asking you to think, where is all of this headed? Every time we digitize our vacation photos, every time we digitize any experience that we have, where is that leading? I believe that we're headed towards a digital black hole. I've been calling this the simulated reality singularity, meaning that all information that gets digitized gets collected and eventually gets crunched into a singularity. The futurist and a friend of mine, John M. Smart, calls this the transcension hypothesis. It's a fascinating idea. So when we talk about the transcension hypothesis, what John is describing here is a computationally optimal domain of increased, dense, productive, miniaturized, and efficient scales of space, time, energy, and matter. It's a mouthful, but that's where we're headed. Every time you create a new file, every time you create a new document, that is being stored somewhere. Even if we don't see it in front of us, it doesn't go away. Now, there's been a lot of talk about digital hoarding. And I'm sure most of us, when we go on vacation and we take 100 photographs, maybe we use 5 to 10, maybe 20 of those photographs. Do we delete those photographs? Most of us don't. Most of us have a huge collection of information online that we never see and we never use. And in the business world, we have a lot of this too. So how do we get to this black hole state where everything is crunched and miniaturized? The first thing that we're going to see is the automation of everything. The second stage is digitization of everything, which is going to lead to the simulated reality singularity. So we've been hearing a lot about artificial intelligence. We've been hearing a lot about automation. Some people say it's coming. Some people are denying it. But the one thing that we know for sure is that automation plus digitization will lead us in one direction. We have to miniaturize our data. We have to crunch our data. I believe we're headed towards a crunch in digitization. So the first stage of this is self-replicating robots. So imagine that you want to create a laptop for yourself in the near future. You have to get the raw materials for this laptop. You have your 3D printer, and you need to get those raw materials to your 3D printer. If we could create self-replicating machines, robots, that were autonomous, that could pull those raw materials out of the ground, ship them by a drone that's autonomous, and deliver them to your 3D printer, that supply chain looks very different than what we have today. So the digitization of everything that's going to come with the automation of everything sort of in a way acts as a fetus in fitu. It cannot be separated. These two things go hand in hand. And when we look at the world today, and when we look out into the world of media and file sharing and EEG headsets recording our thought, our brain waves, all of that information is getting stored in the digital space. So what do we do with that information? Can we gather all of this information into a virtual reality utopia? Can you experience a simulated reality in the future that is as real as the reality we see around us now? And I think you can. We will use time dilation, the ability to speed up and slow down the simulated future. Now, if you're wondering how we get into the simulated future, one of the ways is virtual reality headsets. We're going to be looking in the near future, probably in the next 6 months to a year, where a huge saturation point is going to happen on this planet. And it's not just our kids playing video games. I believe that in the future, our websites will be virtual. So there was a time not long ago when an American journalist on a daytime talk show was discussing a new technology. And she was trying to figure out what this technology was. And she puts her finger in her ear and she starts talking to her producer and she said, "Can you tell me what the internet is?" And that's where we are with virtual reality. People are asking, how can we use virtual reality? What is the point of virtual reality? Is it just for gaming? It's not just for gaming. We were all forced as business owners to create a website at one point, whether we liked it or not. Whatever service you were using, that same saturation point is going to happen with the virtual reality. Why not have a storefront or an avatar that can represent you and your business and deal with your customers when you're offline? This is the virtual web 3.0 that we're going to experience. So basically, we're entering a brave new simulated future where everything that we experience in this virtual world feels just as real as the reality we see around us now. I don't think we can quite imagine that unless you've tried on a pair of Oculus Rift headsets and you've seen how real this world has become. The virtual effects singularity, we could call it that as well, we are finally getting to a place where we can mimic the body, we can mimic the face, so that it is so real that you cannot tell a difference. We're not there with the face yet, but with the body, we are. I would say 75% of what you see in your daily life when you're watching television, and especially commercials, none of that's real. But it's become so real that we have fooled ourselves into believing that what we've seen throughout our day is a real location, a real person, a real machine. But 75% of that was created in a virtual world. So the digital mirror effect really is we are projecting into the virtual world who we are as a species. And I think business owners have a huge responsibility to decide what they're going to project into this future. We have a huge responsibility to the future itself. When the people of the future look back at us in this time, because everything is being recorded and digitized, we have a huge responsibility to leave a legacy of equality. And in businesses in general, the best way to do that is to question, what is my business practice? Why am I interested in the digital world? What is the future of this machine that we're building if we're talking about artificial intelligence? So simulated world building that has real-world implications. What if we could run simulations to cure cancer? What if we could run simulations that would save astronauts from dying in space? Or run simulations for us to live on Mars or the moon? Well, these simulations are being run right now, and we're figuring out things that we never thought were possible. Cures for cancer. 10 years ago, if you had said we would cure cancer on this planet, you would have been called crazy. And today, we are starting to see these cures. So procedurally generated algorithmic perspective simulations. This is how we get to a true virtual simulated reality. I've had people say to me before, it's impossible to generate enough computing power to simulate a world that's realistic. Absolutely wrong. All you need to generate is what you can see in front of you at any given time. Procedurally generated finite algorithms that allow you to let the computer create the world that you see. That's all that needs to be generated. Everything around your perspective, everything that's going on outside of this room, can be low resolution. It doesn't need to be high resolution. In any given moment, I could have a microscope and look deep into my body and see things that I don't see on a normal basis. I don't need those things to be high resolution unless I'm looking directly at them. So procedurally generated algorithms could create the future of a simulated world that is as real as the one we're in right now. So again, the virtual web. The Web 3.0 will be a simulated 3D virtual reality filled with avatar replicas. Now think about that. Avatar replicas that represent us when we're not online. And you could record your interaction with your customers and your friends and your family and have that play back for you in a later date. This idea is important because how many of us have customer interaction at the top of our list when we think about what's important for our business model? You, especially today in a viral social networking world, you really need to focus on your interaction with the customer. And that customer is now very vocal. Each person has their social media. We're living in a review economy. So that interaction, if you could digitize it and have it represent you, that could increase the ability to control those interactions and have a deeper influence on how they view your company and you as an individual. So laser pattern object avoidance. So a lot of people have been asking, so OK, I'm wearing an Oculus Rift headset. My vision is blocked. Yes, I'm seeing a virtual world, but it's not the world that's around me. There's a couple of companies that are developing laser pattern object avoidance systems so that even if you're wearing the Oculus Rift headset, it's scanning the real world and augmenting that world for you. So there's an interaction between what you're seeing inside of the virtual space and what's actually in front of you. We are going to see people walking around with these on their faces. As crazy as that sounds, this is what's going to happen. So the simulated memory economy, we're also going to see a lot of this, trading virtual memories. We're going to be creating virtual simulations and sharing those with our friends and family. And we've talked a lot about wearables in the future studies groups, but now we're going to see implantables. So there's a direct communication with the internet and your brain. We will see centers for people who become addicted to virtual realities. And the most important thing, and what I want to leave you with today, the millennial idea is over. We are about to enter the sim generation. It's a new generation where they have control over their reality. If they don't want to be in this reality, they will create their own. They will make it very simple to scan and create virtual, simulated realities. And I do think the sim generation will have some specific effects on our society. One of them in particular is morphological freedom. If any of you have played Second Life, you know that you can be anything and anyone. So we're going to see morphological freedom become a big influence in the sim generation. So I just want to leave you with this thought that we are crunching our digital information, our digital selves, and we are beginning to simulate a virtual reality. Everything that we put into this simulation, we will take with us into the future. And so I think we have to question, what do we take with us? What's important to us as a species? Thank you.